There we go. And so, everyone, we're trying a new experiment here, so please be patient with this process, and we will try and make it as smooth as can be. And welcome to an exciting episode of Writing Through the Unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and I am joined today with a truly amazing friend that I've met and cannot wait to introduce to you all. So, without further ado, I give you Aprille Joy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
So, for those of you who may not be familiar, you are a shamistic. So, what does that entail? And do you want to give some background of yourself as well for those that are watching?
Yes, absolutely. So, shamistic is really kind of a term that I put together. Well, actually, my son kind of put it together and started calling me that because it's kind of like a combination of like a shaman and a mystic, which are two separate, but they really kind of encompass each other. It's kind of basically who I am. I am a medicine woman and I have been for lots of incarnations. Um, and what I do specifically with my clients is I help them with their mind, body, and their soul, and help them on their spiritual journey and the journey that they have to, proceed and go through on this earth plane. And so I help with that. And I help with, kind of like restructuring the minds and thought processes, teaching my clients how to get in tune with their body, and how to be more in tune with nature. And then with their soul part of it is really tapping into the gifts that all of us have, and really get tapped into the God consciousness and creator, and really learn to navigate our life through our higher self, and having that connection with a deeper connection with ourself. So that's basically what I do.
That's really cool. And you mentioned medicine woman, and that is a term I know from the Native American tribes and some literature I read around there. What is medicine woman to you, and how does one go about becoming one?
That's a really good question. A medicine woman, and it can be man or woman, and it did start a lot of that knowledge did start within the Native American and Indigenous tribes, and it is definitely well known amongst a lot of the ancient civilizations as well. Like it goes back really really far. So basically, a medicine woman, or man is someone that is extremely in touch with nature. They like intuitively know like growing things like herbs, knowing how the herbs and how the cycles of like the earth, how that affects our body, because it does. It affects everything. Everything that is on this earth plane affects our bodies very deeply. So a medicine woman or man has a very deep understanding of how all of those elements affect our body, the mind, body, and soul. So it encompasses everything. Like it encompasses like how the constellations and the planets revolve around the earth. All of that stuff affects who we are because we are literally made up of stardust, like basically. And so all of our systems correlate with all the systems of nature and of Mother Gaia. So a medicine woman and a medicine man is just extremely in touch with that. And so if anybody would want to follow that path, it's usually something that draws you to that. It's something that you know that you have like this innate knowledge about nature and animals and the cycles of the earth, and how everything affects us. And that's pretty much basically what it is. But a lot of the medicine women and men, which are shamans, that's another term for them, is the shaman, and they've always been like the great teachers of like communities and cultures. They're the ones that would teach and help guide others to get in touch with that and to use our own bodies and what we know to heal ourselves, using what God the creator gave us to heal our own mind, body, and soul instead of looking outside of ourselves. So they're really there to help guide us back to ourselves and to really help us tap into God consciousness and to utilize everything that was created for us to use.
That's interesting. And I know you said it's a calling for the medicine woman part. And for the rest of it, what got you started in following this path and deciding this is what you wanted to do?
That's a really good question. And I've had to really sit and analyze that because it's not something that is an easy path either. And I'm not sure that it's something that you per se choose. I believe that it chooses you. At a very young age, I've always been extremely gifted. I'm a psychic medium, and I've always been able to transmute negative energy. I've always been able to heal with my hands. I've always had a very deep understanding of like the cycles of the earth, had very in touch with animals, nature, all of those things. And so, because I was born and raised in a very strict Catholic, Roman Catholic upbringing, which goes against pretty much all the laws of nature. So I had a pretty hard time trying to distinguish kind of my place in the world because I was completely different than the rest of my family. And I always kind of knew things without actually knowing where that knowledge specifically came from. And I just started doing more research about different cultures. Like different cultures always stood out for me, like ancient Egyptian cultures, indigenous cultures, the Mayan cultures, all of those things. So I just literally started probably around teenage years. I started really dive deep into all those cultures and really reading and learning as much information as I could about it. It always drew me. It like always drew me in. And my mom was in the medical field, and I always would like research like the human body. So I started researching like human biological systems and animal biological systems at the time when I was like 9, 10 years old. My parents went through a divorce at that time. And so I kind of just went into hermit mode, and I just started reading a lot and just started concentrating on like just learning as much knowledge as I could. And I just always had that thirst to learn and know about everything as much as I possibly could because everything just was interested to me. I always remember looking at like constellations in the sky, like at nighttime. And I always kind of just knew how like the cycles of the earth were and how nature was. And I always followed weather patterns and seasons and everything. And I just started researching more and more about it. And I started realizing like who I truly was. I really just started resonating with a lot of different areas. And I started getting more involved in like self-help and like nutritional things. And it just started to kind of blossom into who I was. I really was more on a journey of discovering all the things that are actually in me already. And then in the last 4 years, I really started honing in on my skills, and I started getting more contacts and connections with other people that were like me. And then I just started discovering, more about the gifts that I hold. So in the last 4 years, it started out as just like doing energy healing. Like anytime anybody would have like a problem, or if they were feeling some type of way, that I noticed that just like them speaking to me and me just like either like say if it was just a phone call like you and I, or video call, just me speaking would transmute that energy and they would feel better. And then I noticed like when I was a hairdresser, like anytime anybody was having a hard time or whatever, if I would just place my hands on them, they just like would instantly feel better. So I just started like examining more about that. Like, why is that affecting people that way? And then the last 4 years, I've really kind of developed my psychic skills and started doing readings for just friends. It started out with just friends. And I've always kind of done readings, but didn't know that I was doing any of this stuff. Like it just all came very easy for me. Like nothing has ever been where I've had to like really study hard or work hard or anything. I just started reading and researching things, and then it just started opening up other things for me. And then the more I started to heal from like childhood stuff, and just started to realize that the world that we live in wasn't how it appeared. So I just started the gifts just started being more enhanced in the last 4 years. So now with my business, like I help people with nutrition and fitness to help like get their avatar, their human, I call it their human avatar, because we're literally just walking around with a human avatar. And the stuff that we're exposed to is very toxic. So I help people with nutrition and get their body back in balance. And then I noticed a lot of people that have health issues. I started noticing that it was energetic, that there's a lot of trauma that we've all endured. And some of it is in past lives, and our bodies hold that cell memory. So I started realizing that a lot of the health issues that people have is very energetic. And I literally could figure out that I literally can go into the quantum energetic field of someone and literally see like their whole entire like biological system and what's going on, if there's blockages, what's causing health issues. um I was noticing that now I'm not a believer in Reiki, but at first I started kind of studying Reiki, and because I could notice that when I would just place my hands near people, that I could literally transfer energy like through their system and move blocks through systems. So I studied a little bit on Reiki, but it never resonated with me. It just never resonated with me. So I moved into studying more how energy works through the body, and how we store energy, and how trauma will store energy, and how we attach things to our not only our physical vessel, but our spiritual vessel, our soul vessel, that can affect our physical vessel. So in the last 4 years, I've just really fine tuned how your mind and your body and soul all work together intermittently. So I just started figuring out how to heal people on that type of level, to get their mind and their body and their soul completely balanced. Because what happens is our mind stores all of these thought processes and all of these experiences and all of these things that we've even experienced in past incarnations, and it stores it in our body, in our physical body, within our DNA cells, that in every time that we're reincarnated, that that knowledge that we've gained from that incarnation creates another strand in our DNA of knowledge and wisdom. So we don't have two strands of DNA, actually. We have 24 strands. And the more that you start igniting that and opening that up, you actually can ignite up to 48 strands of DNA, which was all of our original DNA strands.
Right. And so when I'm kind of curious is when you're talking about activating these strands, are these the strands that the scientists and geneticists have nicknamed the junk DNA that's just there and they're like, it doesn't serve a purpose, it's just there?
Yes. Yeah. And they really call it junk DNA for two reasons. One, a lot of scientists are too caught up in books that they've learned things instead of thinking outside of the box. There's no junk DNA. Why would the God consciousness creator create anything within our vessel that would be junk? That makes zero sense. There is a utilization for that, but scientists have no idea how to get it activated. And two, we've all been so suppressed with knowledge by a lot of this, like brainwashing and indoctrination, like the education system, the religious systems, all of those. And so it is literally suppressed all of our knowledge and wisdom to where we don't have that DNA activated. But the more that you heal all the aspects of who you are, because we have many, many different aspects of who we are through different incarnations. So there are different aspects of us that through those incarnations that we've had to heal. And as we heal that, we pull all of those aspects into us, and that ignites all the strands of the DNA when we fully ignite and unite all the aspects of who we are.
So, growing up in metaphysics, I always was taught that if there's something about, you genetically or something, that you can alter it and change it. So, if I say, felt like, okay, I don't like how the DNA is doing this and I want to alter it so I can do this, is that an activation of a strand or is that rewriting the code?
Well, it's really a little bit of both. So as you're healing, you are rewriting a lot of the timeline. It's really kind of layered. So you're rewriting some of the timelines that activate some of the DNA. But then you can also rewrite the codes because every single one of us have had some alterations in the DNA codes. We all have. We've had some infiltration from not so good entities that have rewritten a lot of human genetic coding. So we can rewrite it, and we rewrite it by healing, and we rewriting it by concentrating on the areas that are needing healing, and we can absolutely rewrite and genetic recode all of that, so that we can reactivate the DNA stuff that's been pretty much, it's just literally been kind of dormant in hibernation pretty much. It's not like you go turn a key and like turn it on. Like it's just kind of been, there's like steps that will take to get that to come out of hibernation. It's just pretty much been in hibernation.
Right. And so I my question may sound a little arrogant and it's not what I'm intending, but like I know I'm a hybrid, have a star side aspect, and does that enable me to be able to rewrite the code easier than say a human who's just walking around unaware of their star side? Or did we gain our star side because we activated a strand?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Someone was just knocking at my door. Can you say that? Can you say that question again? I'm so sorry.
So when we talk about being able to rewrite the code and everything, and how it's done through healing and everything, I'm wondering if the awareness of being able to rewrite the code and do it, is that because we're hybrids with our star self, or is it because we're human and we just decided to do it and activated a strand that activated that DNA and that awareness?
Yeah, that's
In
a
other
really good
words,
question.
is anybody can do it, or is it easier for certain individuals?
That is a really good question. And no, it's not being arrogant, because honestly, that's really good. So there's a lot of humans that are in vessels that actually don't have a soul. So they're not going to be able to activate any DNA strands or anything, because they literally don't have a soul that is connected to any of that. But the ones that have souls and that were created by God consciousness, and we've all been created, as hybrids of star seeds from different planets, from different realms, different dimensions. There's actually people that have never been to the earth plane before, except for now. I actually know 3 people that have never incarnated to earth before, except for now. Like, this is the time that they've decided that they're going to incarnate to earth. But all the rest of us, like, there's a lot of us that have incarnated to earth many times, and there's many of us have just incarnated to different planes because of things that we wanted to experience. So we as souls have all been hybrids. Like, my soul origination is from Lyra. I'm Lyran. And we all have that soul origination, like exactly where we were, but we've all been incarnated many times. Like, I've had lifetimes on Pleiades, Andromeda, Orion, because my planet was destroyed with the wars, the Lyran wars and the Orion wars. So my planet was destroyed. So a lot of us even have stored a lot of that trauma of different planets that we've been on. Like, I had to literally clear a lot of the trauma that I experienced from seeing everything that happened on Lyra. Like, I remember a lot of that stuff, and a lot of us do. The ones that have that star seed in the hybrid, and ones that have souls, they can totally recode all of their DNA and activate all of it. It's already written in it. It's already there. All the codes are already there. We just have to activate it and be able to access it. But it is there for sure.
Okay, and now when you say, having awareness of, the star side and what race and or culture that you come from, how did you first discover that? Was that like you just saw something about a Lyrian and said, "Hey, I'm this," or did someone guide you through something? In which case, other people could unlock their knowledge of where they come from.
Yeah. Okay, so I've always had a very strong like connection with big cats. That's how it kind of started when I was a kid. I've always had like this fascinations with tigers and lions. And then it went beyond that. Like, after I started like learning all of the human biological systems, and I literally moved to the big cats specifically and started learning all about their biological system, like behavior, just everything about it. And I couldn't figure out why the fascination was so strong. Well, then when I was really little, I would literally have visions of me like being on Lyra with the hybrid felines and the big cats. And I started seeing a guide of mine that was a full lion. Now I've got 3 that follow me all the time. I have 3 white lions that are constantly around me. They're my guides, and they are from Lyra. Then my soul is extremely ancient. Like I literally, not everybody, but some people's soul is literally from the beginning of all creation. And when I was on Lyra, I was in charge of human genetics. So that's why I know a lot about human genetics. And I just kind of started unfolding everything. I started tapping in and doing meditations, and it would take me into a trance that I would literally go into a journey, and my guides would literally show me like what my past life looked like. And I would start getting glimpses of like when I was on Lyra, and I would have visions of me like standing there and looking at humans and figuring out genetic codes and codings and how to create hybrids and that kind of thing. That was, so I started having like trances and visions of doing that. And I was like, what is going on? So I started writing all this stuff down. And then I got in touch with somebody who did a past life for me. And she completely confirmed everything that I had been seeing. Like she didn't know anything about my past. I literally just asked her to do this for me, and she literally just told me everything and confirmed everything that I had seen, validated everything for me. Then I had another friend of mine who was in the spiritual community, and she did divine blueprints. Well, she did a divine blueprint on me and literally saw that my DNA is completely coded with all from Lyra. Like she confirmed a whole bunch of stuff for me. And then the more I started getting that confirmed, then I literally started having more of my guides from Lyra literally show me exactly where I came from. Like I went in a complete journey in trance, and they literally showed me everything. And I literally, when I came out of that trance, I was just weeping. I was like on my knees, just weeping, because I was like, oh my God, I finally feel like I'm home. I belong somewhere.
Right. And to touch on something we mentioned earlier, because it's something that, in full transparency, I was telling you about backstage when describing myself, is I noticed that you said the phrase, I knew things that I was not aware I knew. And I had the same thing growing up where I knew things, one, I shouldn't have known, and two, that I could never explain why I knew. And so is that a trait amongst those that are the star beings hybrids here? And that's a telltale sign of, hey, you are hybrid, or is that just you're one of the fortunate few who was born pre-tapped into everything?
I am lucky that I am very lucky that I was very tapped in, and that I wasn't afraid of what I was seeing. That's the biggest thing, is that a lot of people are afraid of what they see. And because I grew up in like a Catholic household, like they're looking at me like, what? And I had to suppress a lot of that. So I did suppress a lot of my dreams, and I did suppress a lot of visions. And in turn, it suppressed a lot of my gifts. And I do find when I've talked to other people and even clients that I have discovered that they are star seeds as well. That is very common within us, that we are usually ones that have picked a very hard life to go through that almost eliminates our entire memory. And then as we have pieces come back, we have we have like family or culture telling us that we're crazy and we're making this all up. It's imagination or make believe land. And literally everything that we see and feel is really things that we have experienced already. And so, yeah, like people can resonate with certain things. There's a reason why we resonate with certain things. There's a reason why we keep picking certain skill sets. Like every single person on this planet has literally a set of skills that they are so confident that they can do, and they may have had no idea where they've gotten that from, like where they've gotten that knowledge from, and then they've just expanded it when they've been here. So yeah, we all have things that we have literally mastered in many of our incarnations, but many of us have chosen usually lives that have suppressed a lot of that memory. And so it's really important, and I do help other clients to try like tap into that. If you're drawn, like, there was a specific reason I was drawn to big cats, like at a very young age. And I actually had an encounter with a female tiger. There's a wild life rescue that is in Eureka Springs, and they specifically rescue big cats. And I was living in Missouri at the time, and my friend called me and said, "Hey, they have a bunch of big cats up at the supermarket because they're having like a grand opening." So they teamed up with the wildcat place, and they came up and had cages with tigers for you to just come and check them out. It's a huge grand opening thing. So I went up there.
People would go in the store with tigers.
That would be really interesting, but it was in the park. It was in the parking lot. They had like cages and stuff in the parking lot for people to come. It was like this big, you know how they do these big grand opening things. Well, for whatever reason, they brought them up from Eureka Springs to do that. So I went up there, and I kept circling the cage of this female tiger. And the trainer kept watching the body language of this female tiger, and I just was fascinated. I mean, I could just stand there and stare at them literally for hours. I don't have to do anything. I could just literally stand there. And I've always been like that ever since I was little. So I was standing there staring at it, and she literally watched that tiger just keep kind of looking at me. So she said, "Hey, do you want to pet her?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Yes, of course." She's like, "Well, I've noticed that she can't keep her eyes off you. She's been watching you walk around the cage. And she usually doesn't like anybody interacting with her." She's like, "I've been her trainer since she's been at the sanctuary because she won't let anyone near her." So I said, "Oh my God, yeah, I would love it." So she literally called her, and I can't remember her name to this day because I was just so fixated on her face. And she came up close to me, and she opened the door to the cage, and I put my hand out, and she literally reached her face out like for me to like rub underneath her. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I did. And that whole chemistry between that cat, that female tiger, and me, like, it lit my whole body up. And you could tell that the energy exchange was there because she leaned in and she was wanting me to like touch her. And after that experience, I said, there is something very significant about this connection that I have with these animals. And I've always had a connection with animals. Like, animals would follow me home when I'd be out running around playing, and my grandma would laugh and be going, "Your friends are waiting for you," and open the door, and they'd be all sitting there. Like, I just had this really weird connection with them. And the more I dove deep into that, I realized that that is one of the biggest traits of like a Lyran starseed, is that ridiculous connection that they have with animals. There are other starseeds that do too, but that one is just undeniable.
Right. And it kind of makes sense too. And when I was beginning my studies into the esoterics and the unknown that was going on, is I was having visions of a race of felines and the bird tribes, and came to learn that they were called the avians. And I always thought the felines were called the felines because that's what they looked like. And I remember reading an article or a story that someone put out. I think it was the Galactic Federation or something. And they said one was named Devin, who was the leader. And it was like when I saw that name, it was like something flashed in my brain. And I was like, I was on a ship with him. Whether it was Devin was his name or not, that's here nor there. But I'm wondering now, as everyone is like talking about the races and everything, that there is no, like, I don't see in the list of races felines. Is it because they were actually called Lyrians? Is that
Yeah.
why?
Yep. And the blue avians, they were also of the Lyran race as well. There was two. There was the blue avians, and they looked a lot like bird humanoids, and then they had the Lyrans, which were the big cat, the feline humanoids. But they had many different, types. Like they had the small felines, and then the bigger cats, like different. So they were definitely hybrids, definitely. But they
Okay,
had the avian and the felines are from Lyra, and they had different. Lyra itself was a pretty big planet itself, and it held a lot of um, different species, and a lot of the people do kind of get that confused, that blue they're trying to figure out where the blue avian comes from. But when Lyra got destroyed, a lot of the hybrids fled and went to other places. And so a lot of people think that's where they originated from, because Lyra was one of the oldest planets and civilizations ever. Like they were the first ever to inhabit the whole solar system.
right. And my understanding too was to be on a ship with them, you would have to be of them. Like you
Yes,
couldn't be Palladian and be on a Lyran ship.
that is correct. That is correct. Unless you had specific missions that you help them with things, because like the Pleiadians, the Lyrans, the Syrian, I'm part of the Lyran and Syrian High Council, and so they do work together. A lot of them do. Orions work with different. They have different alliances and different councils that do specific missions. So the only way that someone would be like on a Lyran ship is if they had and they were from a different, like say Pleiadians or Orion or whatever, is if they had a specific mission that they were having to help them with, and we would team up with other species to help with certain things. There's like certain councils that take care of certain things.
Okay. And so that makes sense then of that. And I've always felt drawn that, like, being, I accepted my star side because I was like, okay, that, it's just resonated. And with it came council work and doing other things. And one of the things was I learned that, like, I was a part of the AI war and part of the Orion wars. Now, every time I go outside and I feel drawn to look to the sky, doesn't matter if it's April, May, June, July, I will always see Orion. And I know from how the stars move and everything, Orion is not always up. So, how is it that I'm able to step outside all year round and always see Orion?
Yeah, you're probably going to get some more confirmation after I finish that report for you of why you're always seeing Orion. Yeah, that is definitely something, and that's really interesting you said that, because when I was younger, Lyra was the constellation that I was always drawn to see, no matter where it was in the sky. And Andromeda was one of the first planets that I went to after mine was destroyed.
And it's interesting too when you say, it was destroyed, because I have a memory of I was talking with someone, and as we were learning about, some esoteric information about something, I had to step outside, and um, a friend came to me and was like, "What's going on?" And I said, "I literally feel like I just heard," and the closest thing I could do is equate it to is like Star Wars when Obi-Wan was in the first movie, and he says, "I just heard 1,000 voices crying out, all of a sudden silenced." That's what happened to me. Was I heard all these voices scream, and then it was deafening, and I had tears in my friend's looking at me. He's like, "Why are you in tears?" And I was telling him all these voices were silenced, and I felt like everything I knew was destroyed. And it was like, and I even was saying, "My people are gone." And I was like, that's not a normal thing for anyone on the human plane to say. And I was like, but yeah, it like literally came out. My people were destroyed.
Yep. Yep. And there's a very few of us that were actually able to survive that. Like there was very few. Like Lyra and Orion both were destroyed in the wars by the Draconians. And there was a lot of, I mean, there was a lot of wars at that time because they were fighting for consciousness, for human consciousness. Um, and they were fighting over genetics, like who was going to do genetics over humans. And there was a lot of species that were trying to take over different planets, overpower and control. So yeah, there was a lot that got destroyed. Lyra and Orion, and a lot of those, a lot of the people that I've talked to, that's the feeling that they've gotten. A lot of us have literally felt like our whole families were destroyed. A lot of them. I've worked with a couple of clients that have experienced that as well, and they have anxiety. There's been a few that I've had to help work through because they've literally had anxiety coming to this incarnation that they're going to lose all of their family, like a real true fear. Like anxiety comes over them when they go to travel, or if they plan trips, or if they think about their loved ones passing. Like they literally go into anxiety attacks, and a lot of those memories are stored in our DNA and our everything that we experience gets stored in our cells. So if it was super traumatic and it's something that made a huge impact on you, that gets attached to us. And there's a lot of times that we've got like there I had to overcome a lot of anxiety and could not figure out through my life why I had so much anxiety. And it's because of the things that I've had to clear out. And then there's the things that I've had to heal. And all of us have some things that we've had to heal from our timelines, so that we can move forward from that. And so that our soul can evolve. Like all of our experiences, we literally have to heal these experiences, and so that our soul can evolve and move on. And who knows where we'll end up, because we can pick wherever we want to go to learn whatever we want.
Right. And it's interesting you put it that way because when I was younger, I have visions of being able to float out of body real easy. And I would go to what to me the closest thing I could describe it as would be Ra's ship, and all the Egyptian gods were there, and I'd just be like talking to them, and then I'd say okay bye, and I'd jump off and just be off somewhere, and I would come back, and sometimes like I would feel like a pain in my body somewhere, or I know this is going to sound a little macabre, but there would be like blood on my sheets, but I can never explain because I have no cuts, no bruises. And I realized I had created, because I wanted this to stop, a place out in the ethers to where I literally go and I can be regenerated, kind of like a med bed. And so I'm wondering, is that something a lot of the star seeds are doing, or is that something that's unique to like only certain star seeds?
I think everyone has the capability of doing that. But the thing that anchors us from being able to do that is the stuff that weights us down. And I've talked about this a lot. Like, so Anubis is a really good example. So Anubis is the one that is the judge of where you go, like against the heart in the feather. If you are weighted down by all the things that you have gone through in your life, and that means attaching a trauma from all of your past lives, or attaching situations that are like shame or guilt, or things that you've done that need to reap karma. We can all make amends for any of the things that we do, and we can clear our karmic debt as long as we're aware of it. So it's really important to understand that we have got to shed the stuff that weighs our heart down to be light and able to astral travel and to enhance our gifts. Like we have all of these things that are inherently ours, but because of the weight of our experiences, there's a lot of people that cannot do that. Like everybody that has a soul has the ability to do an astral travel, to heal their own body, to use the energy to transmute it. You just have to know who you truly are. Like you just really have to know who you truly are to be able to access any of that.
Right. And I'm also kind of wondering, because I had the awareness to create that, like you were saying, fighting in the wars, I would obviously be worried about my family, but I've never had that. And so I'm wondering if somewhere in some lifetime I said, look, here's a place for you guys. I'm going to cloak it, hide it, and I'm not even going to remember where it's at until it's time. And so they're off safe, so I could do what I needed to do.
Yep. 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 You totally can do that. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It's funny because when I think, when I have gone back to like my time on Lyra, I know that with my family, like I was the only one that survived out of my family and left.
Right.
And
And
so like there, and I have talked to other people that have actually been able, they were able to save some of their family and transport them to other places. So it sounds like that's definitely something that you had the ability to do.
because it makes sense, because otherwise, it's like, how could we go and fight knowing, like you're saying, they're able to destroy a planet. So how could I, in good conscience, leave to go somewhere else to do what I need to do unless I knew those behind were okay? Because that just defies the warrior logic of, I'm not going to sacrifice them to help these people I don't know,
Yeah.
because I mean
Yeah.
that's like, no, that just doesn't happen. You don't go off unless, and it's, you even look at the military today, and what's the first thing they tell the soldiers before they're deployed? Put your affairs in order at home so that everything is taken care of.
Yep.
That's just the way it is.
Yep. Yeah. Because you may not make it back to have that chance to do any of that. We don't know. And unfortunately, one day there won't be wars. Like we're literally changing that now, but it's just going to take steps to get that. It's all up to humanity actually to change that.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
right. And so I'm curious too. The star seeds, I know from talking with Christy and some others that that was why they were targeted to be put in the programs. I don't.
Some, 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 I wouldn't say targeted. I wouldn't say targeted. We all are masters of our soul contracts. So we all come here with knowing exactly what our mission is going to be. So it's not really so much that people are targeted to do it or get put in it. We sign up for that because there are skills and gifts and things that we've carried, and we want to have a human experience with that. So we choose to do those things. And a lot of us have chosen certain things to clear out karmic debt that was created, because we haven't all been crystal clear good. Just because we're good now doesn't mean that we've always been that. Like, we've had a lot of things. We've been many aspects and a lot of energy. Like, we haven't always been good. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I've had to clear out because all my incarnations have not been pure. Like, we've all had karmic debt. So people that have signed up for space station stuff or like secret, secret things, we've all done that for a specific reason, to carry out certain missions for a certain reason. One, for humanity. A lot of us have picked missions to help humanity because that's what our soul contract, and that's kind of what we're made up of. Just because we're hybrids doesn't mean we don't have specific things that are unique to anyone else. Like, there's specific things that I'm here to do that you didn't sign up for. There's a lot of things you signed up for that I didn't sign up for. That's why every single person has a piece to all of this. Like, we're all interconnected, and we all have missions for everyone's highest timeline. That's what we're all here for, is to create highest timelines.
Right. And what I was gonna mention about it too is, and you made great points, and I resonate with a lot of that, and it makes sense. Is why some of us are able to break free, and it's like we are able to stop what's going on and turn and take control and say, this is no longer you assigning me to do something. I'm now going to do what I feel right. And I'm wondering, is that because the star side only can take so much, and then it's like, hey, enough. We need to return to our original um, contract or path, and going, enough of this. And that's why only some can break free and others are still in it and don't even realize they're in it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's all about, like, some of us have just had the power to break that control. We've all been under some spells and brain control and brainwashing, but some of us have literally had the ability to break free, and some may never break free in this incarnation, so it's something they'll have to work on again. Like, we reincarnate and fill out the soul contracts how we want to do it. So if there's things that we haven't fulfilled in this one, we're gonna have to fulfill it somewhere. There has to be balance. That's just how it works.
Right.
So we got to constantly keep balancing out the scales of our entire journey. And it's never ending. We never stop trying to gain God consciousness. Like, we never stop evolving and learning.
Right. And I'm also wondering too, what if, and I don't mean this to sound the way it may sound, is there are select few who are chosen and put
Yeah.
in the super soldier program. There are some that are put in as slaves, some that are
Yes.
put in as ship crew. And I'm wondering, is that because of one, their abilities, and two, any star DNA that they have in them, versus if you're, like you were saying, a human that's has no soul, then you know you're free to be programmed and do whatever. They're not going to put you in certain positions.
Exactly. They're not. No. And the humans that are there are there are the ones that were chosen to specifically come here during this time to fulfill certain missions. And some missions that we may have failed prior to this one, this is the one where we're like, we got to get this right. So there's a lot of us that signed up to literally get this right because we're the time that we are in right now, no one has ever seen. Like we are literally putting the building blocks to get back all the inversions that happened. Like all the inversions and all the infiltrations, all of us that have been chosen to come here for that mission, we're working our ass off to make sure that everything falls into place to get our entire planet to ascension. It Mother Gaia is the one that's ascending, not humans. Mother Gaia. So you have to choose to ascend with Mother Gaia or you will no longer be here. And a lot of us have chosen to do that because we're literally transforming this planet because it's been under control long enough and it's been infiltrated long enough. So a
Right.
lot of us did choose for this specific mission to change all of that because it's enough. Enough. I mean, enough is enough.
Right. And I like how you put that, because that's something that I keep hearing a lot of people is saying is, you know, as we're ascending, we're waiting on this or that, or we need a certain number to reach, or what are we waiting for? And another part of me has always been like, I when I hear people say no matter what everybody's going, and I'm like, wait, that's not fair.
That's not true either.
It's like, and then it does raise the question of, like you were saying, if the earth ascends and those that choose to go with it are here, what does happen to those who said no? Do they just vanish from sight, or does a ship come and take them off world somewhere else to go fulfill?
There's a few different things that are going to take place. There is another physical planet like ours. It's like a split. Um, there's another literal like planet for the ones that are trying to get Gaia to ascend. So everything that's ascending will literally move into a whole, like the planet that we're on now is changing drastically. I mean, we all see it. So some of us have the choice to move with the ascension as it ascends because it will literally like break away. Like I keep seeing it's like we're in this plane and I want everybody to get away from the whole like flat earth and round earth. That is completely irrelevant. That is completely irrelevant to our existence. When I say planet and earth plane, I mean where we are at right now. It's going to change drastically. Like we're separating it and there will be a physical separation. And all the people that have chosen not to be a part of the ascension will go to a place that's like waiting and holding to see if they can get to the next level to move to another plane, but they won't move with us. And the ones that just flat out refuse, they're going to be completely wiped off the earth plane completely. And they'll be going to somewhere else to learn stuff that they were not able to hear and not able to ascend. It's like a whole other place that they won't be. And it's really not the mothership. We don't need a lot of that to transport. People think we do, but we don't. It's really layered. We don't. There are people that are going to fulfill missions other places, and they'll be gone, and they'll be going with their next mission and so-called like motherships, not really motherships, but they'll be joining the people that they need to join to fulfill more of their mission somewhere else, and they'll be off planet. And then there'll be others that have been chosen. Now, I know that I have been chosen, and I chose to create a whole new existence in earth plane. First, so I know that my ascension, I'm ascending with Mother Gaia. And there's a lot. So there was a gateway that opened in September, and there were only a few that were able to get through that gateway from September until November. And then there's going to be another waiting period to where another gateway will open. But the people that made it through that gateway is going to help. Well, not, I want to get away from we're helping heal other people, because we're not. We're guiding by example of how we're living to help others. We're giving them knowledge for them to make a decision if they're wanting to do that or not. We're not really helping or healing anyone. We're just guiding in that. So there's a lot of us that have chosen that specifically to do that. And we're literally helping get the planet online to get the ascension. It's really not, humanity is involved in this, but we have a choice whether we're involved in this. So if the ones that have chosen not to proceed and ascend, they'll be relocated. And it depends on what soul contract that you signed up for of what you're going to fulfill after this. But the ones that have souls, they're just here to fill in and get us distracted from what we need to do. They really are just kind of fill-ins. Like you're playing a video game, they're just kind of the extra people that get in the way of the ones that need mission, that are doing our mission.
Right.
So we have to be very careful with distractions.
And I'm kind of curious, because I don't know if it's a psyop or what, but we're always told everything is choice and we can always make a choice. And so I'm wondering, if we had chosen not to go through the ascension, and in this life experiencing what we're experiencing, and go, you know what, I've learned what I need to learn, I'm ready and can ascend and change the contract.
Yes, you can, in small ways. This is really interesting. I've gotten into really deep conversations with this a lot. So when we choose to come here, we have a designated set of things that we want to fulfill in our soul contract when we come here. So it's already, our destiny and our destination is already marked what we want to accomplish. But how we get there with the small choices that we make, that's our free will only. Like, there are small choices that we can make, but we cannot change our entire destination. Does that make sense?
It does, in a way. And what I was asking in a way was, say, for example, like the super soldiers. They're here, they're fighting, freeing people, reclaiming sovereign territory, and helping raise up. But now, when it comes to the ascension, because their nature is fighting and that's what they know, do they get a choice to let go of that and ascend, or to keep what they know and go somewhere else and fight there and do the same thing? Are they forever locked into that modality choice, or can they break free and say, enough is enough. I'm ready. I'm done. I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're not locked in to that. You've already set up what you're wanting to accomplish by being in that program. Like there are set of things that you've set out to accomplish while you're here. So each set of contracts are literally like you can't just go in and go, okay, like I've been hearing this a lot in the spiritual community that is like, well, you can just completely cancel out your whole soul contract if you want. Well, no, that's not true. You set up specific things in your soul contract to reach a certain destination of skill sets and knowledge and wisdom that we keep building on every time we do an incarnation. So the people that have chosen to do these special programs, they have a set of things that they want to accomplish in that. So it's already written. So it's not like they're like enslaved into that program. It sounds like that they are, because we're warriors. We've trained for this. But some of them are only there to fulfill certain things, and then they move. So they are set to ascend. Like the ones that have set soul contracts to change all this, the warriors in the programs, the geneticists that are trying to help, balance those things out, the people that are in charge of making sure the med beds work good. I mean, we all have a set of tasks in soul contracts that we come in. We all have a certain ascension destination, as you will, that we want to get, but that road's going to look a little different, and the choices that we make along that road are going to look a little different. So it's like walking down a trail, and you literally have all these different ways that you can go because you want to experience certain things, but it still leads you to the same exact destination. We just have different, like turns that we make. Oh, hey, if I take a left here, what experience does this give me? Or if I go straight and I veer to the right, what experience is that going to give me? But we're all moving to the same destination. Like if you decided that you're going to do this program, and you have a set of things that you need to do, but your goal here in this soul contract is to be a part of this ascension, that's your destination. Everything that you experience is still going to get you to that destination. You're just going to have all these experiences that you wanted to have while you're here, but you're still going to get to that ascension destination.
Right.
You don't break that, really. You don't break that contract. That's the major contract that you signed, and the destination that you want to accomplish, that doesn't change. You just change the way you get there. But you don't, then we think that we have free will and everything, and we don't. There's only certain that we've set in mind, and that's our free will moment. And then it has to play out, because we put those kind of calculations in a system to move that way. Does that make sense?
It does. And I guess my last question, because we're over the hour, and I'm not sure, you're, if you have somewhere to be or not, so I don't want to take too much.
Yeah, I don't have anything really to do today. This was my designation.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, because it's something that I talk with and I wrestle a lot with, is I know I have abilities, but because of the programs, I know some of them were altered through other means. And so I find myself going, okay, so where does my natural ability end and the artificial ability begin? Because they enhanced it. And so does it still work without the enhancements? To what degree? And it's something that I wrestle with, because it's like, I know, like, for example, psionics. I was told from a friend in a reading Like I went to Mars, and because I had enhancements on, I could wipe out the enemy, or the negative energies. But now I'm thinking, here in this form, I know I have a little bit of psionics, but I don't want to go into a hornet's nest because my mind goes, I don't have the enhancement. And so I don't know, would I still be okay, or would I be like walking in and going, man, I really screwed up. I'm done. I can't get out of this.
Yeah. You still have, even if there were enhancements that were made to you, there's a reason why those enhancements were made. Like everything isn't completely done without our permission. Like there is a reason why things were done. We give permission somehow, some way, whether we know it or not. There's a permission given. And the enhancements that are made on the ones that have chosen to do that, there's a reason why you chose to do that. But you have to believe that that is a part of you. Like that's part of this ascension and evolution, is we literally have to embrace every single aspect of us, who we are. We cannot doubt any of it. That's where we get in trouble, is when we doubt any part of us. We have to walk in confidence and embrace every single aspect that we've acquired through all of our incarnations. And the enhancements that you've received, there's a specific reason why you have. You still carry those. Even if it was an AI infiltration or whatever, there's a specific reason why you hold those. And that's a specific reason why you hold them to this day. They're a part of you. So you have to figure out why you were given the aspects that you were given and how you embrace that in this incarnation now.
Yeah. And another one that always like trips me up and makes me laugh is I'm used to, and I've learned to equate everything through shows that I've seen because it helps, clarify what I'm saying. And one happens to be from a Japanese anime called Bleach, where it's a Soul Reaper, but they're able to be here and then flash over to here, and they'll be like miles from where they were, and they call it flash step. And I was like, I heard that and saw that, and I was like, yeah, I've done that. And I will find myself going and going, oh, I'm going to be late. Oh, I can flash step. And I'll sit there and I'm still here going, ah. And I get frustrated with myself and going, I can't flash step here.
Yeah.
I'm like, ah,
Yeah.
the level here is so slow. And
It
it's like,
is. It is. And it's because the atmosphere here is very dense. Like our atmosphere here is very dense, and the energy here is very dense and very heavy. So that's the goal that we've had, is like to ascend the whole planet so that we can literally flip on all the stuff that we could do when we're not here. The earth plane didn't used to be like that. We used to be able to do all, like when Atlantis and Lemuria and all that were here, like we used to be able to do all of that stuff, but everything got altered and just jacked up so badly that all of those abilities that we have all of them in the astral. When you go to astral, you can do all of that stuff.
oh,
But
yeah.
here, our body, it's just so heavy here. And that's why raising the vibrational frequency of Mother Gaia is so important, because it is going to affect all of us that are tied to her. Like there's like a lot of us that are more tied to her than others for other reasons, but we're all tied to her. And the ones that are trying to get her to ascend and get the ascension process and helping do that, all that stuff is going to come back, but it's going to take time because everything is just so heavy here.
It is. And it's funny because I know from metaphysics and doing a lot of work that everything is limited by our own beliefs and everything, but I can't help but go, I have the belief I can do this. There's no reason in my mind to stop me, but yet I still can't. And that's the part. It's like, how do you find that one special key to that door that says, okay, once we, fix this limitation, all this unlocks and everything's there. It's like, how do you find that? Because it's like, it gets annoying when you sit there and you go layer after layer after layer, and it's like 4 years later, you're still layering, going,
Yeah.
keep asking for the root. How many roots are there? Which root do I need? Because why do I keep going through all of this over and over and over?
Yeah. Yeah. And I wish I had all those answers, because it really took me a long time to really just unbury stuff. And I'm still unburying stuff. Like, I really am. And the one thing I do know for a fact is all the solar activity that we've been getting, that is literally upgrading our DNA. Like, that's big. And that's happening right now. So all the upgrades and all the solar activity that we've been getting, like, I literally feel it changing all of our DNA. Like, when I'm looking at people now and assessing like their stuff, I'm going, there's major changes. Like, there's major stuff happening right now. So I think we're going to have to just be patient and just surrender to any of the outcomes, because we can't control outcomes. We really have to learn to be more fluid, and letting go of all the things that have held us back on this earth plane. Like, there's so much that we've all had to endure that we really have to learn to just shed it and just move freely, because that's what weighs us down too, is all the stuff that we've endured and the stuff we attach ourselves to. I mean, there's so many people that attach themselves to so much stuff, so many of their stories or their background or any of the stuff, and that weighs us all down. Like, all the labels, all the systems, all the patterns and beliefs that have been passed down that aren't accurate. Like, all that stuff weighs us down. That's what keeps all of this so heavy. But once we start peeling that all off, and we're literally releasing all of that and surrendering more to God consciousness and letting things flow more, those gifts will start coming back like crazy. But then you have to understand that if you literally can start like levitating, and like, if you're in front of somebody and you're like over there and they're going, what the hell? Like, that would just, we have to do things where we're prepared. Like, you can't just jump into something, because there's going to be a consequence to every action. So some people are not prepared to all the gifts that they actually hold. We have to be very prepared to be able to embrace that stuff, because if you have any fear of it at all, you'll just block it. You won't have it.
Yeah, and one of the
we
things
all do it.
Yeah, and one of the things I find comical is, like, when I think about the flash step and moving that fast, is I recently watched the movie Flash. And one of the things that they kept saying was, he goes, I had to develop this outfit because my clothes would just burn off and I would arrive naked. And I'm like, really? You learned to travel faster than speed, but you didn't figure out how to adapt your clothes that are on you to last with you. And I always thought there was a flaw in that, and I was like, yeah, that makes for funny story, but if I'm able to move faster through speed through lightning, I imagine I've also learned how to keep my outfit on from point A to point B, not
I would
sit
hope
there and
so.
go, I hope I got an outfit at point B because this is going to get awkward.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one would definitely hope there would be a plan in place for sure instead of just haphazardly doing it. That's so funny. That's very true.
But I wonder too if that's like a psyop of trying to, put us into a position of saying, well, yeah, you don't want to go faster because you don't have the material to sustain. So don't even try it.
There, yeah, well, anything that literally keeps us, anything fear based, like anything that makes us think that there's something to be afraid of being our authentic self is something that they'll throw in the mix. All these distractions they've been throwing at us lately have just been ridiculous. And it's all just to keep us trapped so that we're not being in tune with ourselves. Like if we're never in tune with our soul and we're never connected to other people that are gifted and are powerful too, they can always keep us under control. Like if we literally knew how amazing we really were, we would not be living in any of this crap. Like we really wouldn't. We wouldn't be in any of this control if all of us knew how powerful we truly were.
Right. And it's funny just now thinking about it. I was looking at, like, they always say you're either a Marvel fan or DC fan. And I was looking at it and going, Marvel, all their shows are about uplifting someone and bringing them from a point of beginning the hero's journey to the end where they've mastered what they needed to learn and have come back to help others along the way and are like guides and helping. And then I look at DC, and the main thing about DC is, okay, you got to be afraid of this, you got to hide this, you can't be this. If you show like Superman, they made a movie where people wanted to kill him because of
Yep.
who he was.
Yep.
Or like Batman, everybody was like, well, he's just a billionaire, so that's why he can do what he's doing. And it's like there always is a reason their hero is different than you that you'll never be able to reach. Where Marvel, when I was just thinking about it, I could not think of a single character in Marvel to where it's like, well, because I don't carry this, I can never be that. Like Thor, his power comes from his hammer. What's written on the hammer? Those who are worthy. Doesn't say you have to be a god. It just says worthy and who.
Whoever feels worthy.
Yeah,
And it's all about your self worth. If you feel worthy, you can have all the things. Like we are all gods. We have all of those gifts, but we've literally been told our entire lives that we don't. Like it's literally been indoctrinated to us. From the time that we are born, they are literally filling our heads full of stuff that we are not gods and that we don't hold the power, and we do.
yeah.
It's all
Like,
about them turning us to fear and thinking that we don't have it. Or like when you're talking about, like, that really is a good point about Marvel and DC. Marvel is all about empowering you and getting you to discover your gifts, and the DC character is all about hiding because you're not going to be accepted by society for being who you are. And it's all about the fight of good and evil, which is really interesting.
yeah,
And they think that the good and evil is outside of yourself, and it's literally inside of yourself.
yeah. And, and they always are like, well, because this person's done this. And it's like, the, I mean, to me, I'm like, I look at Batman, for example, in DC and going, a way they could have rewritten it was, yes, he was a billionaire, but he was a philanthropist helping others. And yes, he does adopt several wards and names them Robin and, is the sidekick. But he it's like every time there's a situation of making the choice, it's like instead of revealing who he is or not and, fighting, his first reaction is to run away and hide and lets things go worse. And they're like, what kind of, hero is that? And this is
Yeah.
supposed to be looking up to.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. And I'm like, why are we emulating and being so interested in this broody billionaire who, yeah, went through tragedy? We all have. And instead of saying, that could be me, we're all like, well, because I don't have the billions, that'll never be me, and I can't do that, and I didn't go through all the struggles that he went through, and it's like, why couldn't we? And it's like for some reason, yeah, DC doesn't want to really empower everyone. They want to empower your belief in that person.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point, because you know what? I never actually broke that down before, but that that you made a really good point. I'm glad you pointed that out, because that's gonna really make me think. I don't watch a lot. I don't watch a lot of this stuff anymore, because it's all been done out. Like, it's
Yeah,
all been played out. Like, they can't make any more movies or any more anything. We I told one of my best friends, I'm like, I'm not entertained by this anymore. Like, all the stuff that they're showing, I already know what's happening. I don't need to go see a movie to see this. Like, I already know what they're trying to do. I already know the things they're trying to manipulate. Like, they literally plant a seed in all of us, and we manifest it for them because they don't have the ability to.
right.
So it's like, we hold the power. Why would they try to suppress us if we don't hold the power? You're not trying to suppress people that have no power and are no threat to you. They only suppress people that are a threat to their agenda.
Yeah, and one of the big things too for me was driving down the highway one time. I started seeing all these billboards one day saying, I am second. I am second. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? Why do we have billboards that say I am second? And I finally asked one of my friends, I was like, who are you second to? Why are you second? And they go, oh, that's religion. That they're accepting that Jesus and God are one, and you're second because you can't be that. And I was like, wait a minute. We're all, the original religion was we were all the children of God, which means we're all divine. We're all
Yes.
equal.
Yes.
How did we decide one day I'm going to be second to that person and I'm okay with that? I was like, that's ridiculous. I was like, I am second to no one. I'm sorry. I
Yep.
am
Yep.
me. I have my divine birthright. No one's taking that from me.
Yep. We are the only species that are in likeness of God consciousness, like almost the exact replica of God consciousness. Why do you think they want our DNA so bad? Why do you think they want to take so much from us? Because we hold the power that they don't. So they try to take it from us by making us believe we don't have it. We are
Yeah.
the only ones that are in likeness of God consciousness. We can do everything and create everything just like God consciousness does, out of thin air if we wanted. But you have to believe you can.
Right. And the one example I like to give, and yes, I know there's a lot of in the esoterics that are not absolutely bright and shining about this moment and who did it. But my point is, look at the numbers, and that is the Revolutionary War. When a, like 1% of the entire population of the colonies said enough was enough and flipped an empire that was number one in sea power and land power on its butt and said, and forced them to say, you know what? We surrender. We can't win this. We're done. And yes, there are those that say, we didn't really win our freedom, that we're still, a colony of. But that aside, I'm looking at the fact that 1% of maybe, say, 80,000 people, then that's like 80 people almost. That's a small amount. Turn the tide. So when they, so when I see people saying today, oh, we, we can't do that because they're too this or that, I go, look at our founding fathers. 1% flipped an entire nation around and birthed a nation.
Yep. Here's
Why?
another. Go ahead.
I was just saying, and that I think is why there was that movement of destroying the statues and everything, is because they're trying to erase that part of history so that we don't think, oh, as an individual, I have this much strength that I don't need to have the entire state or the entire city, county, country behind me. I'm enough on my own, and
Yep.
others will follow.
Yep. Here's a really good example. So here recently, I've been watching on TikTok how everybody started boycotting Starbucks.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I did.
They lost like $9.6 million in like a month's time or 2 months' time because of the boycott. I'm like, are you kidding me? So don't tell me that we don't have the power to do that. Because literally, the whole nation stopped drinking Starbucks. And that's like, that's serious. We
Yeah,
literally can do so much as a whole. People don't realize how much of an impact we can actually make.
I know. And I'm looking at the time, and I'm like really into this conversation, but I'm like, I got to watch the time because the program that we'll be airing this on has only a limited amount of time.
Okay.
But I have to edit stuff down and be like, oh, and I don't like editing episodes.
Yeah.
So, full transparency, I never edit an episode. I will edit the
Oh,
intro,
good.
and
Then you just
outro.
heard somebody knock at my door and me hiding.
But I mean, because to me, I'm like, too much stuff has been hidden and
Yeah.
like manipulated, that it's like, yeah, I don't want stuff manipulated and being attached to that energy. But that side note aside, where I was going with that was, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and what you do?
I am on Facebook. My username on Facebook on my personal page is Aprille Joy. And then I do have the Shamistic page on Facebook. I'm also on TikTok as Mystic underscore 1971. I also have some Instagram pages, but I do believe that my link tree on my TikTok, I think it will let you route to everything. I'll have to double check that, but I think you can click on the link and it routes to wherever I am. But Probably Facebook is where a lot of people find me. So Aprille Joy is on there. And you can find me on there.
Okay, and I don't know why I've never done this before, especially in this series, but for some reason I'm being nagged with this is what pearl of wisdom, if you could leave with everyone that's watching, would you want to leave with them?
Please be authentic. Like whatever that is, like just embrace literally all the aspects of you and literally love all the aspects of you, because when you do that, that you will never know freedom until you do that. Like you really, like that literally frees your heart and soul, is to just embrace all the aspects of what makes you you. There's no one like you.
Oh, and thank God for that.
I know. That's what I think every day. I think that too. That's so funny. The world is blessed that there's only one of me. I really appreciate this time. I really do. I'm glad that we got to do this, and I'll be looking forward to doing more stuff with you.
Yes, I am too, and I'm thrilled that we were able to get it to work. And I am going to see now if I can make the outro work, and
All right.
we will see if that works. Or did I close it and I gotta reopen it? But you gotta love how
Technology.
live shows work. It's never a dull moment. Okay, here we go. Now I gotta flip screens again. That's the other part I love about share screening is flipping back and forth. So I am going to say to everyone, thank you for watching this pre-recorded episode. And to everyone in the chat room, I'm sorry I did not announce in the beginning of the show that this was pre-recorded. So I hope you do not feel like we were ignoring you. It's because chances are we're not in the chat room. So I apologize for not clarifying that this was pre-recorded in the beginning. But thank you for watching. And wherever you are in the world, make it a blessed day, afternoon, evening. And so I will send us out with that.
Thank you.
And here we go. Gotta love tech. That's blocking the. There we go.